It hurt. It hurt like a and it wasn't just the pain of being cut, but also the pain of being burned, even mixed with a hint of aching. Damn it. It also had layered pain like minced meat. If it hurts, it's not too late to administer an anesthetic, Lin advised seriously. At the same time, he wondered why he was gaining experience in knife skills instead of surgical skills. Get lost, the demon hunter roared. Where do you see that I am in pain? I am not hurting at all, okay? The demon hunter shivered, hugging the counter, his face pale and trembling. Could you please loosen your grip on my counter and move the nails embedded in the edge of the table? It's made of fine antique wood and is very expensive. The demon hunter roared. I'll pay you double. What's the big deal? You won't even let me grab something. Cut harder. If you dawdle, I'll chop off your hands. Lin, seriously holding the knives, said, I've been waiting for you to say that. Then I'll really start cutting. The demon hunter shivered. Hold on. God, my God. He immediately saw, one after another, pieces of blackened, meat-scented necrotic flesh neatly flying onto the plate. And based on these fluent knife skills, whether it was peeling or cutting meat, it was indeed impeccable. Anyone who saw it would involuntarily give a thumbs up. But, are you performing surgery on me, or are you quartering me? The demon hunter, banging on the table, roared, his eyes rolling back, and his body sweating like rain. Stop it right now. Seeing this, Lin also became anxious. He slammed the table, furiously saying, why are you so talkative? You're unhappy when I cut slow, unhappy when I cut fast, and you don't want anesthesia? What do you want? The demon hunter held the counter tightly and roared, can't you just gouge it out at once? Why do you have to slice it piece by piece? Are you afraid I'll leave too hastily? Lin retorted, if it's done in one go, wouldn't it become a one-cut deal? Lin glared, what I'm saying is that things need to be done meticulously. Cutting it off with one stroke might be fast, but if it hits a major artery, I assure you, you'll leave even more hastily. I am a doctor, a white-cloaked angel, you have to trust me. I treat my patients like my own children. I would never allow my children to pass away without receiving treatment. The demon hunter, trembling, lips parted, finally couldn't help but roar, cut. Just cut. I'll never come to this damned shop again. Don't worry, after I perform the surgery, you will definitely fall in love with my knife. 10 minutes later, the demon hunter, like a dead pig, was hugging the counter and lying there, his mouth continuously bubbling with foam. Eyes rolled back so much that almost no iris was visible. His body twitching. He felt as if he had had a dream. There was a demon behind him holding two sharp knives, with a ferocious smile, slicing him into pieces, even placing his flesh in front of him, letting him appraise. All right, the preliminary debridement is complete. Lin picked up the liquor he had placed on the table, mixed it with some medical alcohol, and gargled it in his mouth. Then, with a puff, he sprayed it onto the wound on his shoulder. The demon hunter was suddenly jolted awake from his swoon, his senses brutally assaulted by the explosive impact of the strong liquor and alcohol combination. Trembling and shivering, he extended his hand and ceaselessly crawled forward, saying, enough, let me go right now. Lin was earnestly sharpening his knife, his voice lighthearted. My dear guest, we've just completed the debridement and disinfection. Our most crucial step is yet to come. Quick, take a look. During your faint, to help ease your tension a bit, I specially crafted a pattern for you. Take a look, isn't it quite nice? The demon hunter turned his head in horror and trembled as he looked at the wound on his shoulder. In an instant, the demon hunter was completely undone. On his shoulder, over the black bones, a chic red heart was discernibly carved, looking rather darn cute. Did you feel a bit more relaxed? Lin asked seriously. The demon hunter said, I'll kill you. The demon hunter, shivering, quickly drew a revolver from his waistband and aimed it at Lin. Swish. Lin's flying knife instantly pierced the barrel of the demon hunter's revolver as he spoke softly. Dear guest, the surgery isn't finished. Killing me now would be the utmost irresponsibility to yourself. I am saving you, yet you want to kill me. Don't you find such behavior utterly disgraceful? Let me make it clear, I have medical ethics. Even if you want to kill me, you have to wait until I complete the surgery. I will absolutely not allow my patient to quit halfway. The demon hunter shivered. Bang, bang, bang. He fired a dozen shots at the ceiling. I warn you, don't carve any more patterns, don't dawdle. What is next? Lin raised the small knife in his hand and said seriously, bone scraping. Minutes later, the demon hunter, shivering, looked at the chains that Lin had procured from who knows where, chains that were now binding him from head to toe, making him resemble a large, tightly wrapped dumpling. Why bind me while you scrape? Do you really think these ordinary chains can restrain a demon hunter? You are too naive, Lin, his face stern, guessed. It's not that I wish to bind you, I simply fear that during the procedure, unable to bear the pain, you might lash out. My death would be insignificant, but if the surgery were to fail, it would be the greatest insult to me, and the utmost irresponsibility to yourself. Therefore, reluctantly, I have no choice but to resort to this." Lin moved behind him, raising his small knife with grave seriousness. "Guest, I am about to scrape. You must endure. This time, the pain will be quite literally bone-piercing." The demon hunter, his mouth agape with terror, let out a long and eerie howl that could chill one to the bone. If the earlier wound cleaning felt like being minced, then this bone scraping was damnably like enduring hundreds of continuous uppercuts to one's vitals. "You, fuck you," the demon hunter roared, struggling fiercely, the chains on his body about to be shattered by him. The demon hunter, with a howl that reached the heavens, shivered as he bit down on the chain, sparks flying everywhere. "Anesthetic. Anesthetic. Administer it now. I can't take it anymore. I just can't." Lin, scraping, said, "Administering anesthetic now is pointless. I can't possibly inject it directly into your bone. Just endure a little longer. It'll be over soon. I'm not buying your bullshit." The demon hunter roared, instantly breaking the chains around him, and reached for his revolver on the counter. He wanted to blow Lin away with one shot. Seeing his actions, Lin grew frantic. "Damn, I'm painstakingly scraping your bone to heal you, and you're repeatedly trying to blow me away. It's simply outrageous. Absolutely outrageous." Lin, acting first, seized his revolver and shoved it into his mouth, furiously stating, "Move one more time and see what happens. If you don't cooperate with my work, I'll blow your head off. Let me tell you, I am a doctor. You can insult my dignity, but you can't insult my compassion for the injured. Today, even if it kills me, I must heal you." Lin roared. The demon hunter, his mouth encompassing the barrel, howled to the heavens, tears streaming down his face. "I can't do this anymore. I really don't want to do this anymore." Having roamed the dark world for years, enduring countless injuries, this was the first time he felt what it's like to be at a loss for life, what it's like to prefer death over life at the hands of a doctor. "Damn it, no more dawdling with you, time to bring out the big guns." Lin quickly rushed to the backyard. Then swiftly, holding a chainsaw, he rushed back out, teeth clenched. "What are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Don't come any closer." The demon hunter retreated in terror. Lin pulled the chainsaw's starter rope, and the chainsaw instantly emitted a buzzing sound. "Your bones are too hard, scraping would take hours. With that spare time, might as well get it done in one go. Using this big guy on you is absolutely a case of a short pain being better than a long one. I'm going in." "Wait." Buzz. Instantly, shrill and horrified screams pierced the sky. "Boss, I want to buy some recovery potions. Do you have any new stock?" Outside the door, a long-haired female ghost floated sideways, her body light, clearly not the unpleasant type of customer. But just as she reached the door, a hand instantly seized her ankle. Her expression froze instantly. Then she saw beneath the curtain a demon hunter, pale-faced and with trembling lips, clinging to the door threshold, his other hand clutching her ankle, tremblingly saying, "Save me. Save me." Then, immediately, she heard the buzzing sound of a chainsaw from behind the curtain. She, stunned and trembling, extended a pale hand and gently lifted a corner of the curtain. In an instant, her long hair instantly rose in fright. Behind the curtain, a boy covered in blood, holding a chainsaw, was seen straddling the demon hunter, using the chainsaw to buzz against his shoulder. Sparks flew and bone dust scattered. Seeing the customer outside the curtain, Lin instantly lifted his head. His facial expression seamlessly switched to a professional smile, showing his clean teeth, saying, "Welcome, we have plenty of potions. Please come in and wait a moment. After I deal with this customer, I will get them for you. It won't take long. Ha ha." Lin let out a friendly laugh. The long-haired ghost held her head, letting out terrified long howls. Under Lin's stunned gaze, the long-haired female ghost screamed and limped into the black fog, holding her head. "How did I become the customer scarer? I have always adhered to the principle of putting customers first, treating people with sincerity, and providing service with a smile. This darn system, you can't just give me weird achievements." Trying to escape, Lin pressed down the crawling demon hunter and went at him with the chainsaw. "Never mind, let's cure this patient first." Buzz. God. Finally, several minutes later, with utmost satisfaction, Lin discarded the chainsaw, a smile adorning his features as he beheld the polished, pristine bone before him, and gently blowing on it, he spoke, "Dear guest, it is complete. The toxins that have corroded the surface of the bone have all been thoroughly purged by me. Now, all that's needed is a further regeneration of flesh and blood, and your arm shall be restored to its former glory. Lin wiped the sweat from his forehead. A genuine, glorious smile unveiled on his face, a smile that followed sincere toil. Dear guest, are you satisfied with it? Guest? Perplexed, Lin turned his head. Immediately he saw the demon hunter's body convulsing non-stop, visible on his face. Countless white bubbles were churning in his mouth, and his eyes were rolled back so far that they were nearly unseen. Guest, dear guest. Over half an hour later, Lin stood there, listening dumbfounded to the absurd system prompt resounding in his mind. And on the operating table before him, the demon hunter finally started regaining consciousness from his mumblings. Are you awake? The moment he opened his eyes, reflected in them was Lin's professional smile. Propping himself up, almost reflexively, the demon hunter jumped up from the operating table in terror and fired several shots in Lin's direction. Stay away from me. He was trembling, holding a revolver, still in shock. Meanwhile, Lin, eyes wide, was pressed against the wall, his form distinctly outlined. A series of bullets had traced around him with uncanny precision, carving an immaculate silhouette. Keep calm, honored guest, please keep calm. Forget those unpleasant memories. Rest assured, I've already healed your wounds. With outstretched hands, Lin spoke authoritatively. He subtly pushed the chainsaw at his feet aside with his foot, preventing the guest from associating it with some less than pleasant memories. The demon hunter was panting, struggling to calm his own emotions. Then, he turned his head to look at his shoulder. Wrapped in thick bandages, his shoulder, albeit still a bit stiff when moving, no longer bore the empty feeling of flesh scraped away, nor did it have the tearing sensation brought by the black butterfly's poison. It was as if that horrifying experience had been a dream. The demon hunter, astonished, asked, so soon? Lin seriously replied, it's mostly healed. After removing the poisoned, damaged muscle tissue and superficial bone fragments from your shoulder, the remaining issue was how to rapidly regenerate your flesh. Lin held an empty potion bottle in his hand. I used the best flesh regenerating potion we have. Plus, your physique is extraordinary and robust, so most of the missing flesh has already grown back. Only a small part in the center, which was too far from the surrounding flesh, was filled with a bit of other meat. But don't worry, I've eliminated any rejection. The demon hunter froze. He hastily unwrapped the bandage on his shoulder. His shoulder indeed seemed to have fully recovered, even looking somewhat tender, and at the center of the wound, one could vaguely see some flesh with a different color from the surrounding skin. Pale and delicate, a strand of hair was standing upright on it. The demon hunter instantly flew into a rage and grabbed Lin by the collar, glaring, his teeth grinding. Lin quickly raised both hands, signaling his innocence. Guest, the process might have been a bit unpleasant, but the result is quite perfect, isn't it? Lin blinked, his will to survive at its peak. And I assure you, if there are any relapses in the future, you can come to me anytime for a second service. Absolutely satisfying. The demon hunter trembled. Second service. You still want to provide me a second service? Guest, Lin solemnly said, I am a doctor, and while there were some minor hiccups during the treatment, think about it. Compared to dying from the black butterfly's poison spreading and rotting the whole body, what's a little pain from bone scraping? Staying alive is more important than anything. Finally, under Lin's cascade of noxious consolation, the demon hunter reluctantly let go of Lin's collar, gritting his teeth. The demon hunter took a deep breath, let Lin go, and said through clenched teeth, indeed worthy of being my kind, being able to survive in this dark world. Truly capable. This tormenting technique is indeed top-notch. Lin rubbed the back of his head, smiling sheepishly. You flatter me. You flatter me. Do you think I'm praising you? The demon hunter once again grabbed Lin by the collar, his eyes filled with rage, his teeth grinding. Have you ever performed surgery on anyone before? Lin quickly shook his head, raising 3 fingers earnestly. I swear I have. I just performed a cesarean section. Both father and child are safe. They even gave me a like. The demon hunter was taken aback. So, after performing a C-section, you dared to scrape my bone to heal my injury. He really wished he could tear this young man to shreds here and now. However, he finally restrained himself. Because, indeed, though the process wasn't very pleasant, this guy did heal his injury. He took another deep breath, suppressing the frantic and irritable emotions within his heart. He let Lin go, staring seriously into his eyes. He gritted his teeth and closed his eyes, warning, remember this, if I hear any rumors outside about me passing out here, you should know the consequences. Do you understand? The demon hunter took a deep breath, put on his hat, and then took out a money bag from his bosom. Grinding his teeth, he asked, how much is the surgery fee? You name your price. Lin immediately shook his head, offering a sincere, adorable smile, and clasping his hands together. No need to pay. Consider this surgery a treat from a fellow kind. Just patronize our shop more in the future. Don't think that by currying favor with me, I'll forget what just happened. Even considering you as my kind, it's the same. And I advise you, it's best not to linger here. Creatures like us humans, if without some means of survival, are destined to become monsters' prey sooner or later. Seeing this, Lin immediately knew an opportunity had arisen. Though this demon hunter often seemed eager to eliminate him, he was quite fair when it came to dealing with their own kind. At the very least, he hadn't actually killed him. Then, how can I leave this world? Lin immediately inquired. To be honest, I stumbled into this world by sheer accident, and apart from this little shop, I know nothing of the outside world. The demon hunter, tidying his glossy black hair, gave a cold laugh and said, you're fortunate in a way. There are many like you who have fallen here from various worlds, but most of them end up as the monster's prey. I can only tell you this is the lowest level of sinful city. If you want to leave this world, apart from death, the only way is to become strong enough. Only the strong have a slight chance of escaping from here. He twirled the revolver in his hand and casually lifted the brim of his hat with the barrel. I'm a man who believes in fair trade. Since you've helped me heal my injuries, I can't just shortchange you. If you don't want coins, take a look at what valuable items I might have on me. You can pick whatever you like. He opened his hand, fully embodying the audacity of a demon hunter. Lin hesitated for a moment. His gaze instantly fell upon the two metallic revolvers hanging from his belt. Snap! Lin grabbed one of the guns. Snap! The demon hunter firmly seized his wrist. The surroundings plunged into an eerie silence. A slight smirk curled at the corner of the demon hunter's lips as he coldly remarked, "Damn, you've got a good eye. You picked the most valuable thing on my person." Lin replied earnestly, "I think these two guns look really cool." The demon hunter chuckled coldly, "Cool. Of course, they're cool. Don't you see whose guns they are? Could they be anything less than cool?" The demon hunter lightly flicked his fingers, and the two revolvers danced in his hand. In an instant, the two dark muzzles were aimed squarely at Lin's head. Lin, the demon hunter, maintained a stoic expression and then pulled the trigger. Bang, 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 bang. The gunfire echoed incessantly, a consecutive 12 shots. 12 bullets were discharged. Lin stood there, and on the wall behind him appeared the outline of his head, created by the bullet holes. The demon hunter lightly blew away the black smoke wafting from the holes and calmly stated, "Though undeniably cool, these two guns have a fatal flaw, as you probably noticed just now." Lin said, "Potato aim." The demon hunter sneered, "These two guns were once cursed. You can think of it as, no matter how you fire them, your bullets will never hit the mark, so." He nonchalantly holstered the guns and said, "Apart from using them to show off, they're pretty much only good for showing off." A brief silence hung in the air. Lin, somewhat dazed, said, "Then, I don't want them." He turned to leave. Bang, 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 bang. Bullets popped off, striking the ground near his feet, causing Lin to leap into the air and swiftly press against the wall. With a smoky gun in hand, the demon hunter calmly stated, "Since you've made your choice, you can't just change your mind. I'm a stickler for fairness and trustworthiness. If you refuse now, it means you're looking down on me. So, I'll give you one more chance. Do you want them or not?" Lin stared and replied firmly, "I want them." The demon hunter's lips, covered in stubble, curled up slightly. He twirled the gun with a rattling sound, and then he slammed the gun onto the operating table. "Indeed, you're my fellow kin, truly generous. If it weren't for the curse preventing me from voluntarily disposing of these two guns, I would have done so long ago. Now that you can take them off my hands, I'm quite relieved." Lin was taken aback and asked, "What do you mean?" The demon hunter smiled faintly and explained, "Because of the curse, I can't get rid of this gun by myself. It's necessary for fellow kin to show a strong desire to possess it, and it can only be traded through a fair transaction. But, as you know, there are very few humans in this cursed place, and finding someone to take over is not that easy." The demon hunter adjusted his hat and turned toward the hall, speaking slowly, "Since you've done me such a big favor, I can also give you some information. Tonight, no matter what sounds you hear outside, do not attempt to go out and do not open the door. Something terrible has arrived in your vicinity." As these words left his lips, Lin was suddenly taken aback, because this was precisely the warning given to him by his master. Lin immediately inquired, "What kind of creatures are they?" The demon hunter sneered, "I think it's best if you don't know. Also, if you manage to survive until tomorrow, I believe we will meet again. Hee hee." In the next moment, the demon hunter disappeared into the dark. In the hall, Lin toyed with the revolver in his hand, pondering the words of the demon hunter from earlier. He glanced at the entrance, whether it was an illusion or not. As night fell, the darkness outside seemed to grow denser than usual. Lin played with the revolver in his hand and cast a fleeting glance at the ghost baby on the counter. During this period of inattention, this ghost baby had actually grown to level 7. With this terrifying rate of growth, it wouldn't be long before it became exceedingly difficult to handle. Could this gun really be as he described, unable to hit the target no matter what? Lin hesitated. He closed one eye and aimed at the ghost baby's head. Bang! A bullet instantly grazed the ghost baby's ear. Lin raised an eyebrow, blew away the black smoke emanating from the muzzle, and said, "It really can't hit." He was somewhat skeptical. "Well, there's still half an hour left. Might as well use it for target practice." Lin remained composed. Bang! Soon enough, half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. With a whoosh, the soul lamp hanging on the doorpost suddenly extinguished without warning. Without a second thought, Lin immediately raised his head, his expression serious. He rushed to the front door and retrieved the extinguished soul lamp. The darkness outside the door grew even denser, and there was an eerie silence. Lin knew the night had fallen. Creak. He immediately closed the door and locked it with a rusty iron chain. All the windows on either side of the door were tightly boarded up. His experiences over the past 2 years had taught him that when the soul lamp went out and night fell, it was a significant test, as it meant that anyone could enter your sanctuary without your permission. Lin's heart skipped a beat, but he quickly regained his composure. This wasn't a good sign. Triggering a quest meant that there was a high probability of a major crisis tonight. Because this time, the reward was a whopping 500 skull coins. Usually, the higher the reward, the greater the danger. Underneath the thick blankets, he held the boning knife in his hand, his expression calm. Suddenly, urgent knocking resounded from downstairs at the outer door. Lin quickly opened the door. "It's me, your master. Evil spirits are chasing me. Hurry, let me in." A series of suppressed and agonizing voices. "Master." Lin abruptly sat up from his bed. He swiftly grabbed the boning knife and rushed to the hall. And then, he immediately saw the trembling of the front door, heard the violent panting, and the stifled, agonizing moans from outside. It was his master's voice. "Lin, quickly, I can't hold on much longer." Lin nodded. Holding the boning knife, he dashed to the front door. Then, he raised the knife and thrust it out through the crack. Crimson blood gushed out instantly from the other side of the door crack. Lin shouted, "Master, if you can't make it, then embrace death outside." A brief silence. Then, from outside the door, that dazed voice spoke again. "You weren't even sure if I was your master, and you stabbed me directly. Because if it were me outside, my master would have stabbed me too," Lin said earnestly. A brief silence, and it was in the next moment that a series of piercing shrieks emanated from outside the door, growing increasingly intense and loud. It sounded as if something was pressing against the door, desperately trying to squeeze inside. With a loud crack, a blood-soaked, nearly decomposed hand suddenly pierced through the door, reaching inside. That reaching hand continued to scratch at the door, producing sharp and piercing sounds. "I shall devour you. I will rend you to pieces and chew each bit slowly in my mouth." Grabbing a boning knife, with a single strike, he pinned that hand to the door panel. Instantly, shrill and distorted wails echoed from outside the door, and concurrently, crimson blood seeped incessantly through the wood. Without another word, Lin swiftly untied a strand of red hair from his wrist. This was one of the rewards he received from the system during the day. Now it was coming in handy. Zip. Upon contact with the bloody, decaying hand, the strand of hair quickly wrapped around and extended beyond the door, and within mere seconds, the sharp laughter outside abruptly ceased. In its place were bouts of suffocating gasps. It sounded as though something had its neck constricted, struggling madly outside. "It seems like it's just a minor ghost, not very strong." Lin gritted his teeth. He seized the wildly growing hair strand, swiftly suspending it on the beam, and then pulled forcefully. The tearing of flesh kept emanating from outside. With those tearing sounds, the frequency of the struggling of the hand pinned to the door panel also became increasingly violent. Finally, the hand slowly slumped down. It seemed to have lost all signs of life. However, Lin didn't relax in the slightest. Drawing out the boning knife, he stabbed through the crack of the door, over 100 times before he finally relaxed. One of the survival guides in this world. Hearing the system's prompt, Lin finally relaxed. That is to say, the monster just now indeed hadn't died thoroughly. It was only after he stabbed it over 100 times that it finally breathed its last. Lin was about to clean the bloodstains on the ground. But just then, Lin froze instantly. But his response was swift, almost immediately pressing against the exterior wall, his gaze fixed sternly on the door from the side. Holding his breath. Origin level. What the hell is going on? Could it be the big one the demon hunter mentioned would appear tonight? And at the next moment, Lin abruptly felt an immense coldness spreading across his skin. Then he immediately saw the hand of the flesh monster that had stretched into the doorframe twitch slightly. Then, as if something forcefully yanked it outward, the decaying hand instantly withdrew. Lin severed the spirit hair strand hanging from the beam with a single slice. Whoosh! The cold, eerie fog began to permeate from the hole in the door panel. Lin held his breath. In the murkiness, he could hear a series of chewing sounds coming from outside. It was as though something was chewing on ribs. Crunch, crunch. That is to say, the origin level monster is now on the street outside, and this level of coldness is also his first encounter. The demon hunter indeed didn't lie to him. Tonight outside is unusually restless. Damn it. Could I really be this unlucky? Did I really encounter it? He saw a beam of light shot in through the gap smashed by the flesh monster. Lin was certain that beam of light was the gaze of that unknown monster. Lin stayed still, like a sculpture pressed against the wall, and at this moment, on the door frame less than a meter away from him, at that hole, a huge eye was peering inside through that small hole. Lin could even hear his own heartbeat. Slurp, slurp. From the outside came the sound of licking the door panel. Lin stared, daring not to move. But for some reason, he found the slurping licking sounds unusually adorable. But at this moment, Lin suddenly saw a tentacle, like a blood-red tongue, slowly probe in through the small hole. No, take back what I just said. This has absolutely nothing to do with adorable. Lin didn't dare to move an inch. Under his gaze, the blood-red tentacle licked every drop of blood on the inner side of the door panel. Then, as if not having enough, the tentacle slowly crept towards Lin's direction. Slurp, slurp. Like a tongue, the tentacle left trace after trace of licking on Lin's face. Lin was dumbfounded, standing there, his whole body rigid. His sanity was plummeting. If it were him from 2 years ago, or any other human, they probably would have screamed and run away by now under these circumstances. But after all, Lin is no ordinary person. He knows very well that, under the current circumstances, as soon as he dares to run, or shows a bit of panic and fear, he would immediately be eaten by the monster outside the door. But at this moment, a voice like a baby's suddenly came from outside the door. "Doctor, found you." Lin's heart thumped, and in the next moment, the voice came again. "Open up, toothache." Lin, something's not right. Something's not right. Could it be that this monster outside the door is not here to eat him, but to seek medical attention? Lin tried hard to calm himself down and said with wide eyes, "But our little shop doesn't accept customers at night. It's the rule of the shop. No customers, eat you." Lin swiftly took out his keys, unlocked them, and opened the door in one go. "Bloodsaw Potion Shop sincerely at your service." Lin bowed deeply at 90 degrees. "Our shop adheres to the excellent tradition of curing diseases with medicine and surgery. How may I assist you?" Whoosh! A surge of cold air instantly flooded in from the outside. After seeing the full appearance of the monster outside the door, Lin's heart raced, and his sanity value plummeted even more. What the hell is this monster? To be precise, it was a human head. A baby's head as tall as 2 stories. No torso. From where the neck should be, numerous red tentacles spread out densely, like snakes. Those huge eyes, like searchlights, were shooting out 2 bleak white lights. And in front of Lin's eyes, its panel appeared instantly. That huge baby head slowly opened its mouth, and instantly, a wave of foul smell almost made Lin pass out. "Toothache, doctor." An incredible huge, bizarre baby's head, but the voice from its mouth was delicate like a child's. And those sharp teeth dripping with blood were eerie enough to make one lose all their sanities on the spot. "If can't cure, we'll eat." This voice is surprisingly somewhat cute. "Don't worry, it can definitely be cured. A toothache is just a small problem." "May I ask which tooth is aching?" Lin inquired, his eyes wide. "Molar." The voice of the baby's head came. Lin looked into that gigantic mouth, but because it was too far inside and dimly lit, he couldn't see clearly at all. Lin gritted his teeth and made a bold decision. "Please open your mouth wide. I will diagnose you right now." The baby head's mouth opened a bit wider. Lin took a deep breath to calm his mind. At this point, it really was like trying to save a dead horse as if it were alive. Just be normal, be normal. Just treat it like an ordinary child. You can do it. Lin carefully climbed onto the mouth of the baby's head, jumped onto its tongue, braved the foul smell, and advanced toward the direction of the molar. The further inside he went, the more pungent the smell became. "There's no light, I can't see," Lin shouted. A horrifying scene occurred. A tentacle slowly stretched above the baby's head, and Lin immediately saw the tentacle wrapping around one of the baby head's eyeballs, entering the gigantic mouth. Instantly, the pallid gaze illuminated the entire oral cavity. Lin was drenched in sweat. Now it's clear. He didn't dare to delay, turned his head, and his gaze went in the direction of its molar. Vaguely, he could see various food residues stained all over the surrounding teeth, including severed hands, shattered skulls, viscera, and rotten flesh. It was undoubtedly a strikingly horrifying and terrifying scene. Obviously, this monster has a very diverse diet. Lin, suppressing his profound shock, started to search carefully, and just the next moment, Lin's gaze instantly fell on a spear embedded in the molar. A thought crossed Lin's mind. It seemed that the reason causing this monster's toothache had been found. But he never expected this is actually a weapon from a non-dark world, with the same function as the demon hunter's handgun. And it also has a holy attribute. Could it be causing severe pain to this monster due to this spear? Lin's expression was one of uncertainty. He cautiously approached to inspect it and then immediately saw that, at the front of the spear, there was actually a sticky severed hand attached to it. Obviously, the user of this spear was eaten by this monster. The other parts of the body have been digested, but the weapon in the hand was stuck hard between this monster's teeth. Guest, I found the reason for the toothache, Lin shouted. That delicate and horrifying voice came. Pull it out, if can't, eat. Lin steadied his mind. Then his gaze instantly fell on the large number of severed limbs around that molar. Lin's heart raced incessantly. Clearly, he wasn't the first doctor this monster had sought out. Judging by the circumstances, this patient definitely had a considerable temper. When it said it would devour him, it surely would. But Lin soon discovered a commonality amongst those doctors. They were all creatures of the dark world. And this spear apparently had a profound restraining effect on such creatures. The spear emitted a wisp of exceedingly dim light before rapidly fading away. No backlash. Just as he had speculated, Lin steadied his spirit. I'm starting to pull it out, Lin shouted. Then Lin immediately mustered all his strength, his hands tightly clutching the spear, one foot braced against the molar, pulling forcefully outward. He exerted all his strength, for his very life depended on whether he could pull this spike out. It's loosening. The eyeball illuminating for Lin also revealed a look of elation. Success seemed within reach. Lin pulled even harder on the spear, but his strength was still inadequate, besides the faint loosening. Attempting to pull it further became increasingly challenging. Lend a hand. Lend a hand. Lin, clenching his teeth, shouted at the tentacles excitedly surrounding the mouth. A brief pause. The tentacles rushed in immediately, wrapping around Lin's waist, one after another, and began to pull forcefully outward. But aside from nearly causing Lin a cerebral hemorrhage, the progress of the spear was exceptionally slow. Lin became anxious. Stop for a moment. Everyone, listen to my command. I will shout 1, 2, 3, and then everyone pulls together, understand. Understood. Lin took a deep breath. He gripped the spear tighter, his expression becoming grave. 1, 2, 3, pull. Lin roared. In an instant, Lin and those tentacles pulled together forcefully. With tremendous inertia, the spear, under the combined force of Lin and numerous tentacles, was suddenly flung out of the mouth, falling heavily to the ground. We did it. Lin stared blankly at the spear. Does this mean he would finally not die? But it still hurts. The colossal head with the gaping mouth lowered an eyeball, its gaze enveloping Lin as if under a spotlight. Lin peered inside, his eyes falling on the large hole left in the tooth from where the spear had been pulled. And at that moment, blood was spurting from the hole like a gushing fountain. Wait a moment. Without another word, Lin flashed a slight smile, dashed back to the shop, rummaged through, and pulled out a large amount of anesthesia and hemostatic agents. Now that the foreign object was removed, what followed was much simpler. If one could overlook this monster's horrifying appearance, it actually wasn't much different from his other clients. Lin rushed back. Bleeding is a normal reaction, but to fully recover, further treatment is needed. Keep your mouth open, don't move. Having found the cause and extracted the pain-inducing culprit, the subsequent steps were much simpler. The hole, albeit only fist-sized, had evidently reached deep into the tooth roots. He hadn't observed closely before, but now it was clear that the tooth's interior had been invaded by holy power, even emanating a faint glow. Clearly, it was the dispersed holy power that was incessantly inflicting pain on this monster. But the bleeding was too severe. Administering hemostatic and pain-relieving medicine into the tooth roots was exceedingly strenuous. Lin pondered. His gaze instantly fell on the eyeball that had followed him to assess the situation, and the crimson tentacle beside it. Smooth and adorable in appearance. Smack. Lin immediately pinched that tentacle. Guest, do you still need this tentacle? I need to use it to alleviate your pain. Lin shouted. Lin chopped off that adorable tentacle with a single stroke. In an instant, countless tentacles observing from outside the mouth surged forward, ready to assault Lin. However, they quickly halted. Lin was seen holding the severed tentacle firmly within a wooden basin, his expression stern. He poured vial after vial of potion into the basin and, extracting a syringe, squeakily injected the concoction into the tentacle. The other tentacles stayed frozen in their place, their eyeballs peering curiously. Minutes passed. Light, Lin shouted as he abruptly seized the potion-filled tentacle. Lin had indeed entered his zone. The tentacle holding the eyeball visibly shuddered, hastily focusing its beam of light upon the bleeding molar. Lin leaped forward, aiming the potion-filled tentacle at the cavity with a grave expression. Then, he thrust forcefully. A scream of pain erupted from the monster baby's head. It had pierced in one go. However, it was clear the tentacle in hand was somewhat too large, and the hole too narrow. To thrust deeply, the assistance of a robust tool was indispensable. The next moment, with a plurt sound, Lin inserted the rod upon the tentacle pressed against the hole. Smack. Smack. For a moment, sparks flew, thunder roared, and lightning flashed. The tentacles and the eyeball inside the mouth, all spectating, were petrified, retracting to a corner. Pain, pain, pain. The monster baby head's head began to thrash wildly. Clearly, these relentless strikes, one after another, were causing it considerable, tearing pain. This is normal. Bear with it. It will stop hurting once we reach the deepest part. Trust my professional standard. After continuously striking hundreds of times, the tentacle, filled with potions by Lin, was finally smashed and hammered into the tooth cavity by him. The potion has started working, but this is just the beginning. To have healthy teeth, further processing is needed. The eyeball was vigorously nodding, expressing trust. Clearly, after Lin's excellent efforts just now, this monster had begun to trust him somewhat. Lin was keeping track of time. About 5 minutes had passed. It's time. We can start working. Lin raised his head, his expression serious, and from the side picked up his master's drill, pulling forcefully. Zing! Sparks scattered in all directions. Goggles. The surrounding tentacles quickly passed goggles to Lin. Light. The tentacles immediately held up the eyeball, focusing on the spot where Lin was working. Lin spat on his hands, gripped tightly, and started his breathtaking task on the molar with the drill. The inside of this tooth has been corrupted by holy power. This is also the main reason causing your toothache. If the holy substance inside isn't completely removed, once the effect of the medicine wears off, the pain will still be unbearable. So, a preliminary cleaning of your tooth is needed, and then I'll fill it with a strong and sturdy good tooth. The eyeball gazed curiously, casting its light for Lin in stunned fascination. Zing, zing, zing. Lin, with his drill in hand, meticulously ground away all the luminous substance inside the teeth. Fetch a bucket, Lin commanded loudly. A tentacle shot rapidly into the shop, winding around a wooden bucket before passing it over. Lin's expression was solemn as he swiftly deposited all the ground tooth powder into the bucket. Fetch water, Lin commanded again. The tentacle swiftly returned, entwined around a large water tank. Lin cleaned all the powder around the tooth thoroughly. Then his expression grew even more serious. What else needed? Perceiving Lin's puzzlement, a delicate yet horrifying voice emerged. Lin solemnly said, I need filling material, but I don't have enough supplies here. Otherwise, I could have given you a shining steel tooth. Steel? Lin pondered. Yes, but to get the supplies, it has to be at least tomorrow. I have steel. Lin was taken aback. And before he could comprehend, he immediately felt the ground tremble beneath his feet, and then he saw the buildings outside retreating rapidly. Apparently, this massive head was moving swiftly. In the next moment, they stopped outside the doors of a huge metallic building. Before Lin could react, its tongue shot out like a blade. The entire building was split in two instantaneously. He had seen such a monster once before when a similar puppet had invaded their little shop causing destruction. His master, wielding a chainsaw, battled with this monster for several hours before driving it away. Why had it brought him here? Boom! A loud noise echoed. A puppet inside the metal house, unable to react, was immediately flattened into a steel pancake by the baby head's tongue. Lin was dumbfounded. This was too outrageous. Enough, the infant-like voice asked. Boom! Another steel puppet was directly flattened. Enough. Actually, one is already enough. Melting, forging, molding. Under the strenuous hammering of the massive infantile head's robust tongue, it only took a few hours for Lin to forcibly cast an iron tooth, meticulously conforming to the shape of the gap in the tooth. Then, using a powerful adhesive, he precisely welded the steel tooth to the molar. After a series of grinding and polishing, a brand new tooth, under a series of operations by Lin, became completely renewed. Perfect. Lin wiped the sweat from his forehead, revealing a satisfied smile, feeling a sublime elevation of character. Doctor, impressive. The immense baby head issued a delicate voice. Those two colossal eyes focused on Lin. I won't eat you anymore. Lin adjusted his monocle, bowed a standard 90 degrees, and displayed a professionally radiant smile. The praise from our customers is always our solid motivation to move forward. Would you like to try our shop's newly introduced dental care services? Lin blinked. This super monster that he finally encountered had a favorable impression of him. If he didn't promptly cling to it and make it a returning customer, wouldn't he be out of his mind? Health services. The monster conveyed a curious voice. Lin, with a smile, responded, yes, our shop can provide you with long-term dental care, rid you of any oral ailments, and maintain the cleanliness and health of your teeth, preventing toothache, mouth ulcers, tooth loss, and other abnormal symptoms. The gigantic baby head seemed to ponder. Then Lin received an affirmative response. This is the effect he wanted. When roaming in other worlds, the more friends, the more roads. If he didn't foster a good relationship with a monster of this level, he would truly be brain damaged. The more Lin cleaned, the more astonished he became. For this place was veritably a trove of treasures. After purging the diverse limbs and fragments from the monster's mouth, under the curious gaze of that eye, Lin hastily dashed to the shop storeroom and brought back bucket after bucket of materials, quickly mixing them in the center of the hall. It's the slime of a dark slime, capable of producing abundant foam, combined with soap nuts that have antibacterial and refreshing properties. Additionally, a special potion made by my master is added for wound cleaning and whitening. It can maintain the long-lasting brightness of your teeth and freshen your breath. Impressive. The eyeball bobbed in stunned agreement. It wasn't entirely understood, but it was definitely impressive. Soon, the Dark World brand toothpaste was ready. Lin fetched a large brush from the backyard, holding the bucket filled with bubbling slime, and jumped into the monster's mouth, embarking on his diligent toothbrushing work. Can I help? The eyeball, watching Lin's brushing work with curiosity, seemed somewhat eager to try. This was indeed very novel. Here, Lin generously brought out a heap of small brushes from the shop. The tentacles immediately imitated Lin, each one holding a brush, curiously dipping in the slime, brushing, and turning the eyeball to watch, mimicking Lin's movements. Brush like this first, then like this, and then like this. Oh. You also need to clean the dirt between the teeth to prevent infections. Lin continued cleaning for a whole hour. Hearing the system prompt, Lin, sweating profusely, put down his brush and sat on the steps, his face revealing a satisfied smile after labor. Doesn't it feel completely renewed compared to before? The shining and white teeth reflected a dazzling luster. The eyeball revealed a sparkling expression. It was utterly transformed from the bloody, yellow-toothed appearance it had before. It was so clean, it practically shimmered like it was freshly born. Having such gleaming teeth indeed makes anything one chews seem appetizing. Are you satisfied with the service? Yes? Do you want to become a lifelong member of this shop? You can come here for a free dental cleaning anytime. Want? What is your name? So I can register it. When you come next time, you can receive a golden membership card and a small gift specially made for you. What is name? It's how other beings refer to you. Don't have name. Do you want me to give you one for free? Okay, thank you for visiting the shop, and we look forward to your next visit. Lin bowed a standard 90 degrees to the origin-level monster who, bouncing happily and showing its gleaming teeth, was heading towards the end of the street. As he kept smiling until the ultimate monster left, Lin immediately dashed into the potion shop, grabbed a hammer and nails, and quickly nailed the door shut, eyes wide, pressing his pounding heart. Only then did he completely relax, although the process seemed very harmonious. As a human, facing such a terrifying monster, it would be a lie to say he wasn't afraid. Thankfully, I have a strong mentality, otherwise, I couldn't possibly have survived tonight. Lin let out a sigh and wiped the sweat from his forehead. But it was all right. He had won the favor of the origin-level monster through his remarkable eloquence and medical expertise. Lin was very clear, in this dark world, origin-level monsters were akin to the max-level bosses in online games. Any one of them wasn't something ordinary monsters could contend with. And I have a feeling it's not just one. Lin widened his eyes, trying to calm his heartbeat. It was clear the demon hunter must have come following these origin-level monsters, but he never appeared in Wandering Soul Lane, which meant there were definitely other high-risk, powerful monsters in the surrounding areas here. Fortunately, this time, he encountered a kind origin monster that could communicate. Otherwise, being squashed like those steel puppets would have been his fate. Indeed, sometimes being skilled can serve as a means to save one's life, Lin murmured. After all, technicians are always the most popular wherever they are placed. After a day of trials, his overall level had indeed advanced to level 5. His fundamental skills in various aspects had also received substantial enhancement. Lin exhaled deeply. He decisively allocated all 8 assignable points to his physique. His physique surged instantly to 28. The exhaustion from a night's labor swiftly dissipated with the allocation to his physique. After allocating the points, Lin promptly opened the reward the system had just bestowed upon him. Lin's eyes lit up instantly. Curse removal. Although it wasn't permanent, Lin immediately thought of one of its uses. It was the revolver he got from the demon hunter. If he could erase the curse on that gun, then he would truly possess a legendary defensive weapon. Curse removal. Lin extended his hand and shouted. Instantly, strands of dark and viscous aura slowly seeped out from the silvery revolver, each accompanied by a series of piercing wails. The next moment, under Lin's watchful eyes, the viscous aura was rapidly pulled away and suppressed. With the system's notification, Lin's mouth curved into a smile. He gripped the revolver. Although it would only last 24 hours, this gun could play a significant role at critical moments. Lin turned around and aimed at a bottle on the corner of the table. He pulled the trigger. Bang! A silver bullet instantly blasted out. It successfully hit the wall. Bang! Bang! Lin fired several more shots in succession, but not a single one hit the bottle. System, is the ability you gave me a fake? I have wiped away the curse. Why is the hit rate still so low? Lin decisively ignored the system's explanation. However, he quickly fell into contemplation. It seemed that if he really wanted to use this gun in actual combat, he still needed a long period of firearm practice. After all, becoming a sharpshooter isn't achieved overnight. Realizing this, Lin's spirit was lifted. He placed the empty bottle on the windowsill, standing 10 meters away. Aim, fire, bang, miss, bang, miss. Upon the windowsill, a bullet hole, as thick as a finger, had suddenly appeared in the wooden plank. From the distant streets, a series of eerie, long howls immediately resonated. Who is it? Who's that ambushed me? Lin rapidly rushed to the window, tore off the plank, replaced it with a new one, and swiftly nailed it down. Thud, thud, thud. Then, like a wisp of smoke, he hurried back to his loft, dove into his quilt, and enveloped his head, falling into a deep sleep. It was as smooth as drifting clouds and flowing water, all done in one breath. Lin suddenly opened his eyes from the moldy pallet. The massive cobwebs on the roof beams were still constantly reminding him this was not a dream. He was still in this dark world. It had already been 2 years and 1 day he had spent here. One by one, viscous tentacles caressed his face and neck, and inside the quilt, there was the bubbling sound of some foaming bubbles. His body was covered in various forms of viscous fluids. He grabbed the silver revolver from beside the bed, reached into the quilt, and aimed downwards. Bang, 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 3 shots. Miss, miss. Lin threw off the quilt. In an instant, one after another, the octopus-like dark tentacles suddenly burst out from inside his quilt, wriggling and scattering all over. And at this very moment, the monster, with a good-looking baby face, was lying on his stomach, its face blank. The countless tentacles were the twisted things crazily growing from its body. So, it has collapsed again. Lin stared. No wonder he kept feeling something and wanted to find a place to burrow into his body all the second half of the night. He freaking slept with an octopus monster for a whole night. It had been less than a day, and it had astonishingly soared to level 10. And the corruption was severe. Apart from the face he had molded yesterday, every other part of the body had been completely filled with wildly growing tentacles. In that case, I shall continue to adjust you properly today. Lin cracked his wrists, his face stern. Lin reached out his hand. He lifted the ghost baby by the back of its neck. Each tentacle dangled listlessly. Due to the immense fear accumulated towards Lin from the previous day, it had no desire to resist him at all in his presence. It was like being so terrified of someone that you would become very obedient. It stared blankly at the frightening human who lifted it, a cloudy consciousness making it somewhat anxious about what might transpire next. What is he going to do? Would it be like yesterday, ruthlessly molding its face into a strange shape again? In the next moment, Lin grabbed 2 robust and slippery tentacles on its body, his expression serious. And then, like pulling noodles, he pulled, kneaded, and pushed in an instant. Ghost baby. You're still too disobedient, growing so many strange tentacles all over your body without the doctor's permission. This is extremely unhealthy for the growth of a child. Lin tied those wriggling tentacles in knots, one after another. Swiftly and forcibly, he pushed them back in. Let Dr. Lin give you another makeover. Ghost baby. More than half an hour later, Lin looked satisfactorily at the ghost baby on the table in front of him. Yesterday, he had only molded the face of the ghost baby. The completion of a full set of services today left Lin immensely satisfied with his hands-on ability. Rosy cheeks, chubby little hands, a little baby like a doll. If placed in the human world, it would undoubtedly be the healthy and perfect human child that would light up countless mothers' eyes and make people fall in love with it uncontrollably. Of course, because there were too many tentacles due to the corruption. Even at the end, many tissues remained. So Lin made a slight adjustment on its body. Lin extended his finger. He flicked the cute and small beast ears on its head. Aren't they super cute? Maintain this shape and do not collapse arbitrarily. Lin instructed seriously. Only in this way can you grow up healthily and become a little kid who is loved by all. Understand? After practicing his shooting for half an hour, Lin got up. As usual, he took the broom and began his daily cleaning work. After the cleaning, Lin took the soul lamp, carefully lit the tinder with flint, and then opened the shop, hanging the soul lamp on the door pillar. Like yesterday, it was still foggy outside the door, and nothing could be seen 10 steps away. Placing the ghost baby on the counter, Lin sat down, intending to examine the new functions of the system carefully. System, open them all. He couldn't touch the shop's regular income, but the skull coins he earned through tasks, now amounting to a full 2551, definitely make him rich. After reviewing the goods for sale, Lin stood up with a swoosh, his eyes wide open. System, are you sure these are the goods you are selling to me? Lin had very high expectations for the system's mall. After all, in the novels he read before crossing over to this world, items from the system were always considered top-notch. Superman bloodlines, star destroyers, cute maids. In those stories, the system had everything, limited only by one's imagination. Now, look at his system. To the uninformed, it looked more like a junk store. At a glance, there was nothing particularly useful. System, refresh the goods. Lin took a deep breath, gritted his teeth, and sat back down. All right, even though the mall was completely contrary to his expectations. But at least it was an additional source of supplies, right? Toxic slime liquid. Bought it. Might be useful later for concocting some toxic potions. A fortune cat figure that brings bad luck. What was its purpose? Would he ever think he's too lucky and buy it to jinx himself? Bought it. Might be useful as a gift later. Baby diapers. Lin's gaze instinctively shifted to the mascot ghost baby he had placed on the counter. Considering its rapid growth and the fact that he had molded it into a humanoid shape, it would be inappropriate to leave it bare. Bought it. This could be handy. Soon after, his attention was captured by the fourth item on the list. This recipe is the only decent item among those sold by the system. Moreover, it also sells a very hard-to-get material in combination. This item is definitely worth more than its price. Without hesitation, Lin bagged these two items, along with the critical hit potion rewarded by the system yesterday. He now had exclusive recipes for 2 kinds of potions. Lin was not in a hurry to concoct them. As a potion shop, every once in a while, merchants would come with various raw materials for supply. And calculating the time, it was today. Lin quickly prepared the skull coin and packed the large number of limbs and arms he had excavated from the mouth of that origin-level monster yesterday. Outside the door, the fog was dense and the air was filled with dark mist. Lin waited patiently at the door. Gradually, the sound of creaking wheels and footsteps rose from the darkness of the street. An old woman with a benevolent yet eerie smile on her face, holding a human skin lantern, appeared in his vision and stopped in front of the potion shop. Young man, do you have any useless junk to this old woman? Yes. Hearing the appearance of the system task, Lin was overjoyed. He agreed very cheerfully, then quickly went back to the shop and dragged out a large hemp sack with effort. Young man, you have so much stuff to deal with this time. The smile on the old woman's face seemed to become even brighter. Lin politely said, yes, do you need me to help you put it on the cart, ma'am? All right. You really are troubling yourself, young man. The old woman's smile was exceptionally kind. Lin strenuously lifted the large bag of junk and placed it on the cart pulled by the scavenger. The moment he put it down, the smile on the old woman's face instantly stiffened. Aura from origin level. The old woman's face was strange, and a hint of shock flashed through her muddy eyes. She immediately felt the overwhelming weight and oppressiveness coming from the cart. Her gaze at Lin became especially astonished. Lin smiled and said, it might have been contaminated a bit. Last night, I checked the teeth for a customer, and this is the useless stuff I cleaned out from its mouth. I thought you might need it, so I planned to leave it for you. The old woman's expression was instantly shocked. You've checked the teeth of an origin-level monster. Weren't you afraid it would eat you? Her gaze at Lin became even more astonished, as if she had gained a deeper understanding of the young man before her. Lin laughed. What is there to be afraid of? Serving customers is our motto at Bloodsaw Potion Shop. Regardless of who comes, we treat everyone the same. For a moment, Lin clearly felt the gaze of the old woman in front of him had changed, becoming as if she was looking at a monster. She lowered her voice, emitting a series of hoarse sounds from her throat. Last night, 3 Origin level came here. You probably helped the smaller one. I advise you not to get involved with them. You probably don't know yet. Last night, the neighboring Slaughter Alley, Evil Spirit Street, and Shadow Spirit Lane were emptied by those 3 headhunters, and half of the 15 high-ranked demon hunters and magic spirits were killed. Lin was stunned. The headhunter you met yesterday probably planned to come to our Wandering Soul Lane for food. It seems that because of you, Wandering Soul Lane was spared. Lin was dumbfounded, but I felt that the customer yesterday was quite cute. Shouldn't be so vicious, right? The old woman seemed to have heard something extremely shocking and unbelievable. Then, under Lin's gaze, the old woman stretched out her withered hand, slowly reaching towards her own chest. Young man, what you gave me this time is too valuable. I can't digest it for a while. This thing is what I just scavenged. Maybe it's useful to you. A sound of flesh being pierced was heard. Then Lin saw. The old woman inserted her hand into her own chest and forcibly pulled out a heart that was still beating and bleeding. The heart was emitting rolling heat, thumping in the air. You take it. The old woman smiled hoarsely. The old woman laughed grimly. If you want someone to die, just think about them in your heart, and then deal with this heart in the most vicious way. You will harvest great joy. Hehe. Lin was instantly horrified. Indeed, not many things carried by this old woman are ordinary. This heart is definitely a big weapon in terms of effects, but inevitably, the cost of using it should also be extremely high. Soon, the old woman disappeared into the fog ahead, pulling her cart bit by bit. Watching the old woman leave, Lin looked at the beating heart in his hand. His eyes were strange. His bizarre collection is growing. This trade is absolutely worth it. This scavenger passes by the shop every morning, definitely. A friendly NPC that can exchange various items regularly. When the monsters delivering goods every week arrived, Lin paid a large amount of skull coins and replenished the store's inventory. Calculating the time, tonight or by tomorrow, his master should be back. Back at the counter, Lin quietly awaited the arrival of today's first customer. Outside the door, the black fog surged, and at this moment, bang bang bang, 3 knocks on the door were heard. Lin immediately raised his head, with a professional smile on his face. Welcome. The soul fire hanging on the doorpost flickered violently. Lin's pupils contracted, because such violent flickering of the soul fire indicates that the visitor's level is definitely not low. Outside the door, a woman in a red evening gown was standing smilingly at the threshold, wavy curls spilling down her back. A charming woman who seemed to drain you with just one glance. Boss, wish you a prosperous business. The woman was holding a covered plate in her hand, and faint whiffs of a meaty aroma could be smelled from it. Lin heightened his vigilance, though his face remained calm, saying, "Hello, is there anything discomforting you, dear guest, that requires treatment?" The blood-clad evil spirit had a particularly radiant smile. I am not feeling discomfort. As I just moved to this street this morning, I plan to visit my neighbors. You should surely not mind my visit. She delicately licked her crimson lips. Lin was acutely aware that, in this dark world, monsters that seemed normal were the most dangerous. And the woman before him emitted a conspicuously ominous aura. Welcome, certainly welcome. Lin's smile remained unchanged on his face. Please come in. Bloodsaw Potion Shop welcomes any friendly neighbors. For such creatures, whose levels were entirely indiscernible, the soul lamp outside the door would fundamentally be of little use. Boss, you don't seem like a native around here. The woman gracefully seated herself on a stool before the counter, her chin resting on her hand. A lingering smile and a charming gaze fixated on Lin. Aren't you afraid of being consumed by some unfriendly customers? Her finger gently traced in front of Lin's chest, utterly enchanting. However, Lin immediately regained his composure. With a professional smile on his face, he swiftly unsheathed the boning knife left by his teacher, smilingly said, I do harbor some fears, but a doctor's duty is to heal and save. Even in fear, as long as one is my patient, I must treat them seriously. This is the principle of being a doctor. The woman flirtatiously blinked, her laughter as sweet as the breath of orchids, saying, how interesting. What if one is not a patient? And what if I want to consume you? She gently blew a breath at Lin, whispering like someone sweet talking beside the ear. Maintaining his composure with a smile, Lin seriously responded, impossible, miss. You're so beautiful, surely your heart is as exquisite as your appearance. A lady as beautiful and elegant as you, even when dining, would definitely do so with the dignity and grace of nobility. Quite the sweet talker, the woman charmingly laughed, her finger gracefully gliding across her lips, asking, "Do you really find me beautiful?" "Absolutely. And now, do you still find me beautiful?" In that instant, under Lin's gaze, the woman's face slowly split open from the middle. Her face still bore the same smile, and from the fleshly fissure emerged rows of sharp, inverted teeth, one by one, viscous and foul tentacles squeezed out from that split face. At the same time, a strong stench mixed with the scent of blood emanated from her body. "Do you still find me beautiful now?" From the chilling crevice of the grotesque face came the sticky, jeering laughter. Slowly, as the crisis level sharply elevated, the ghost woman with the split face was inching closer and closer to Lin's face. That sticky and hoarse voice also came nearer and nearer. "Am I truly beautiful?" Gradually, the horrific visage was now less than 5 centimeters away from Lin's face, the viscous tentacles and sharp barbs nearly enveloping Lin. And it was at this critical juncture, Lin planted a kiss on her. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.